Today, I'm turning Minecraft into a full-fledged horror game, complete with spooky effects and jump scares. And at the end, I'll test to see how scary this thing really is. So basically, the way that I want this to work is as follows. If you don't know, in Minecraft, armor stands can both have feet and hand positions. Now by default, their hands are disabled. However, if we use this command to summon an armor stand with the tag showArm set to true, then we can actually get the armor stand's arms. And finally, we can attribute this to it to hide the base plate as well. So now it just looks like an actual mannequin. My idea is that this guy is going to be the thing that's haunting us. So the first thing that I want to do is find a really creepy player head for him, that way when he jumps out and scares you, it's super scary. Alright, so this is what I found, and I think it works pretty well. While it's not that intimidating, I also think that it doesn't have to be that intimidating, as long as the effect is jarring and has a loud sound attributed to it when we actually do the jump scare. But just to be sure, I think it does look a lot better in the night, and even more so in the rain. So another thing I wanted to mention is that I'm doing this in the new 1.19 snapshot, and what that means is that we can have access to the darkness effect, which is great for horror maps. The only problem with the darkness effect is that you can still see a little bit too far from our liking. So one way that I found to fix this is by also giving myself the blindness effect. So if we pair this up with Minecraft blindness, then as you can see, it's much darker. It still fluctuates on and off, which is really nice. And we can't sprint, which is awesome. Okay, so now I've made it so that if you get within 10 blocks of the lurker, which is what I've decided to call this thing, then it'll give you the darkness effect. So as you can see, if we get close enough, then we get the darkness effect pretty quickly. And you might think that a heads up is going to make the scare less scary, but I'm pretty sure that having a little bit of warning is just going to raise anxiety and make the scare even scarier when it does happen. So next up, we need a system so that the lurker can follow us. Okay, so now by using some simple teleport commands, as well as some commands that will make it so that he doesn't move into blocks, as you can see there. If there's blocks next to him, then he won't move. Then I've made it so that the lurker is going to follow us. Oh yeah, and of course he is floating, which we will address later. But as you can see, if there's blocks in front of him, then he doesn't move, but then as soon as we move over here, then he is able to pass the block. But the next thing I want to focus on, rather than any of that, is just making sure that he stays on the ground, because this looks pretty silly. Okay, so I made it so that he can go down now. So if I go down a hill like this, he will be able to follow me. But unfortunately, he can't go up. So if I go up here, as you can see, he just gets stuck. Okay, so this sort of works, but basically the way that it's trying to go up is it looks and it sees if the block in front of its head is air and the block in front of its feet is not air. So that means that it would be looking at a position like this, then it should be able to jump, and then it should move up. And then the idea is that it'll move up until the block in front of its feet is no longer air, and then at that point it's just going to continue walking forward as usual. But as you can see, it does not appear to be working very well. Occasionally it works, but in general, it just doesn't work at all. So maybe if I walk back far, it'll work. I'm not sure. I think I have to find a different method of doing this. Okay, so I've managed to get him to go significantly farther above the block than he should need to, but he's still not moving forward. So I'm thinking that maybe he's not moving forward for a different reason, and I'm still trying to figure out what that is, because I can't think of a reason why he wouldn't. Okay, I really hope I found the problem. I'm going to reload the data pack now, and I think the problem was that the script for it to fall was happening after the script for it to move. So I put it before now, and hopefully it should work. Maybe, hopefully, if you can come up here. It works! Yes! And it still can't go through blocks like that, but look, you can climb up stuff. This is awesome. Alright, now I'm so happy we got this to work. No. What? Oh, that was a byproduct of putting the fall script beforehand. Yeah, that checks out. That's not something. Okay, I'll be right back. Alright, now I've got it working. So as you can see, he can come up, and then he can come back down again. And everything's working as it should. Now, I think the next thing I want to work on is something quite difficult, and that's making it so that he doesn't get stuck easily. Because currently, the only, quote, AI it has, which in reality it's not AI at all, but I digress, is to look towards me and to move forward, which means if there's anything in his way, he'll just stop. So even if it's just this tree that he could easily walk around. So this is going to be difficult because I need to come up with a solution so that it knows how to go around the tree. And I honestly cannot think of any easy way to do this at the moment. So what if rather than coding our own, we just use the zombie's AI? So whenever it gets stuck, it would just spawn an invisible zombie with speed, that way it matches the same speed, and then teleport itself to the zombie until it gets unstuck. Now, I have no idea if this is going to work. but I think it's worth a try because I literally cannot think of another easy way to do this other than to manually map out the correct path that it has to go in order to get to me, and that would involve a lot of math and difficulty and stuff, and I don't even know where to start with that. So I'd rather not spend hours and hours and hours working on this little thing, and instead see if I can just find a cheap solution. So the first step in doing this is to figure out how we know if the armor stand is stuck or not. So the best way that I can think to solve this is as follows. We summon a marker at the end of each tick, and then at the beginning of the next tick, we check if the marker is still in the same position as the armor stand. If it is, then we know that the armor stand is not moving and therefore stuck. But if it's not, then that means that the armor stand is moving and we can kill it and it's not stuck and we can continue moving on as normal. Actually, you know what? Scratch what I just said. If you see in the sidebar here, I've managed to get the armor stand's positions into a scoreboard. And this means that we can just check if the position is the same as it was in the last tick, which is a lot simpler than doing a whole thing with a marker and messing around with all that stuff. So currently, as you can see, he is not stuck, and that's indicated by the 0 on the right hand side. But if he gets stuck, so for example, if I go up here and he's unable to follow me, then as you can see it goes to 1. And then as soon as he gets unstuck, it's 0. So now that we know when it's stuck, we can use appropriate methods to get it unstuck. So the way that we're going to do this is going to be the same concept as the zombie thing, except instead of a zombie, we're going to actually be using a wandering trader. And this is because we can exactly control where their AI goes. So if I spawn a wandering trader here, and I use this command right here, then it's going to walk towards a set position. So as you can see, it turned around and started walking towards that exact position. So if we set this position to my position, then whenever the armor stand gets stuck, we can just have a wandering trader pathfind to us for it. Okay, so now everything is complete. So if we reload the data pack, then whenever this guy gets stuck, what it's basically going to do is spawn a wandering trader like it did there, and then it's going to walk towards my position until it gets unstuck, and then it's going to kill the wandering trader and continue following me as normal. Alright, so now that I've patched up those last few things, let's really test to make sure that this thing actually works properly. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave him here, and we are going to go all the way over here, and we'll see how long it takes him to catch up to us. And a pretty short amount of time later, he's already here. Okay, so one of the last things that I want to work on in terms of the motion aspect of this character is making it so that when you look at it, it freezes. And basically what this will do is make it so that you could just turn around and see that it's frozen. That way you don't actually realize that it's coming up behind you, and it just looks like sort of like that moving statue game, where you're not really sure if it's coming up behind you or if it's just like you're like, did that move or whatever. And that's the idea behind it. So that's what we're going to work on now. So I actually found a very smart way of doing this, but it's kind of complicated to explain, so I'll do the best that I can. So this is the command we're going to use. So if you're good at commands, you can just pause the video here and read it for yourself, but if not, I'll explain it for you. So the first thing that we do is we face perfectly at the target and move 1 block forward. Then we face the direction that the player is actually facing and move 1 block back. Now, if the direction of the target is the exact same as the way that I'm facing, then we'll just be moving 1 block forward and then 1 block back. Therefore, our starting point will be the exact same as our ending point. And as you can see, it's already working here, but we can't really see where the lurker is right now, so let's just reload the data pack. So as you can see, when I'm facing it, it starts spamming this, and then as soon as I look away, it stops. So of course, we can still look at him in F5 and stuff like that, and he'll still approach us. But then once we actually start looking at him in person, he freezes. And now, the only thing left to do, the moment you've all been waiting for, it's time to actually work on the jump scare. But if I showed it to you right now, it would ruin the surprise. So what I did is I got my friend online who has never played this before and has no idea what's coming. And you're gonna experience it as he did. Oh, before we continue, if you want to play this for yourself, it's on my Patreon. It's only like $3, and I would really appreciate it because I'm not monetized on YouTube. Okay, thank you, bye, link in the description.
Oh, I hear it, I hear it, I hear it, I hear it. Can I run? Can I run? I don't see it. Oh! No, no. I'm back. You can't scare me now. I'm looking at it.
If you look at it, remember, if you look at it, it stops moving. You can walk forward to try and see it, and it won't move as long as you're looking at it.
Wait, does it like... Oh, I hear you, you fucking blue man. Ah! How
Did
did
I do a good? Did I do a good job
you
with the
did do a
horror?
good job.